All right, let's introduce our panel this evening as we look at whether the authority of the government has been further eroded by the FDI fiasco. It may have brought peace in Parliament, but at what cost? Let's introduce our panel this evening. Joining us this evening is, of course, Sachin Pilot. He's Minister of State as well as Member of Parliament with the Congress Party. Also joining us, Jay Panda, Member of Parliament with the Biju Janata Dal, a state whose Chief Minister also objected to bringing FDI into the retail sector. With us in the Delhi studio, Kalyan Banerjee. He's the Lok Sabha Member of Parliament with the Trinamool Congress, also the party's Chief Whip. Really played a crucial role in how the story has unfolded. And of course, Shekhar Gupta, who's always blunt, always outspoken, and particularly his paper has taken a very blunt position on this particular matter. And we will also be hearing from Rajan Mittal, whom I interviewed earlier, as industry is expressing its anger and disappointment in no uncertain terms and asking the government to honour its commitment that this is not a termination, it's only a temporary suspension. Sachin, if I may start with you. Let's put aside for a moment whether we can agree on the actual decision, bringing FDI into the retail sector or not. Would you accept that the way it's been handled, first the senior-most ministers from the Prime Minister to the Finance Minister to the Commerce Minister, going on record to say there would be no rolling back, there would be no turning back, going on with a very aggressive rhetoric, and then 2 days later, making an announcement, actually Mamta Banerjee giving the first glimpse into what's going to happen. It just seems like one step forward, 2 steps back, consolidating the perception of a government where nobody seems to be in charge.
I think that's an unfair assessment, Barkha, because once the government made a decision, we saw what happened in Parliament for 10 days. It was absolute pandemonium. There was no functioning of the Parliament. And even now, the decision to suspend the cabinet decision until a consensus is evolved is taken in the view of the opposition parties in Parliament and the fact that the government has a responsibility to legislate and pass laws in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. We had no work in Parliament conducted for the last 9 or 10 days. It couldn't have gone on for that long. And I think in a democracy, it's wrong to say that this is a sign of victory or loss. I think this is the political reality of a coalition government of 35, 40 parties in Parliament. It's difficult to evolve consensus, but I think it also reflects upon the main opposition party and the stand they have taken. 8 years ago, the NDA was very much in favor of FDI. Today, they sense a political opportunity. They jumped in and didn't let the Parliament function. So these are all the ground realities of Indian politics, and we have taken a decision to suspend the cabinet decision of FDI and retail until a more evolved consensus is at hand. The fact of the matter is that the government is moving forward. We want other work to carry on. The democracy of this country, the parliament functioning of this country cannot be held to ransom because of one decision or one person or one party.
But may I interject there?
In that larger context, we've gone ahead.
Yes, may I interject only to say that you've dumped all of this on the opposition not allowing parliament to function. But the fact of the matter is it wasn't the opposition that was your problem, it was the Trinamool Congress. If the Trinamool Congress had responded differently, if the government had done its homework with its allies, you may not have been in this particular situation. We'll hear from Kalyan Banerjee in just a moment. But do you accept that, Sachin, that the problem was within? You had Congress members of Parliament from Uttar Pradesh questioning the decision. You had Congress leaders from Kerala questioning the decision. We know of at least 2 cabinet ministers, Congress cabinet ministers who questioned the decision. And then you had Mamta Banerjee who just refused to, in a sense, budge from her position that this was not good for India. So wasn't the problem really within your family, as it were, and not the opposition?
But the Congress party has very categorically stated that it stands behind the Prime Minister and the government of the day in all the decisions we made, including this one. Now, individuals can have different opinion, but the party and government were in cohesion and we worked together to achieve the objectives at hand. In a coalition government, there are obviously not concurrence of agreements on all issues. We have difference of opinions on many issues. That's why there are different political parties. Okay. And sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to evolve at a consensus. I concede that. I mean, there is no question in denying that. But the fact is that the entire opposition also I think did a flip on their views on FDI, especially in retail sector, and then brought the parliament to a logjam. And I think the government thought it's more appropriate for the parliament to function as opposed to getting into ego issues of personalities and decisions and stagnate the whole process altogether.
Well, some would then say, why was this decision taken when Parliament was in session? Kalyan Banerjee, from the perspective of the Trinamool Congress, till last week, you had the Commerce Minister saying, Mamata Banerjee is my old friend. I've known her for 26 years. Before we made this announcement, I had a long conversation with her. It was in deference to her wishes that it was left optional for the states. If this is true, Kalyan Banerjee, why did Mamata Banerjee later take the position that she did? This is what the Congress claims, on record.
What the Honourable Minister is saying, that's his claim only. I verified his claim.
You verified his claim?
Yes.
You don't think it's true?
I verified his claim, that's not correct claim.
NDTV's Cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.